I played a lot of Starfield when it first came out. On Steam, I have almost 300 hours in it, and as much as I enjoyed the game, there was still more that I wanted from it. New factions, stories, quests, and gameplay mechanics. And as luck would have it, there's a brand new creation giving us all of that. Watchtower is a brand new paid creation from the Kinggath team. For Starfield, they've previously released the McLaren's Outfitters creation, and the free Doom-inspired At Hell's Gate creation. For Skyrim's creations program, they made the East Empire expansion and the Bard's College expansion. And in the free modding scene, they're best known for the Sim Settlement series for Fallout 4. Watchtower is one part story add-on and another part gameplay mechanics add-on, giving players several features that they wanted when the game first released, including the ability to create a fleet of ships to follow you and aid you in combat, the ability to call in orbital strikes such as missiles or automated turrets in order to give you an upper hand, and adding AI-powered mechs as a new enemy type, all while adding some more challenging encounters and some absolutely large-scale space battles. This really serves as a full DLC-sized release. Today's video is meant to be part review, part overview, and part helpful guide for anyone who might be interested. Watchtower is fully voiced with a brand new cast, and the download comes in at around 1.3 gigabytes. It comes in at a price of 1,000 credits, approximately $10 USD, and is available for PC and Xbox systems. I did receive a copy of this for free, but even had I paid for this myself, I think they're able to justify that price point easily. Personally speaking, this is the kind of expansion that I want to see for Starfield. Just a quick note before we continue. I will be going over some plot points for the beginning of the creation, but I'm not giving any spoilers for the later parts of the story. Watchtower can be started pretty early on in a save, and once installed, it'll kick off via a random encounter when jumping into a system that's level 15 or above. You'll have your first encounter with the titular Watchtower group, who demands that you stand down and allow for boarding. Whether you agree or try to fight back, you'll find your ship disabled, and you'll be knocked out by a subsequent energy blast. You'll wake up imprisoned on one of their ships, only to find yourself saved by a mysterious Good Samaritan. You'll still be fairly incoherent after being knocked out, so he'll tell you to find him at a set of coordinates in the Piazzi system, where he says he'll explain more and promises to keep you safe. Following his instructions will lead you to Stardock, a new star station that'll serve as your main base throughout this adventure. Upon boarding this fairly empty station, you'll meet with your rescuer, who introduces himself as Torin, and explains some of what's going on.
The group that attacked you, they're called Watchtower. I'm not surprised if you've never heard of them. To say they're clandestine would be an understatement. From what I've gathered, it seems they've made it their life's work to hunt down and confine individuals they consider dangerous. Individuals like you. And me.
In your first encounter with them, they made use of their own special energy weapon, which they call the Synapse Disruptor, with the first blast disabling your ship and the second blast intended to incapacitate you. In your current state, Watchtower has the upper hand, and if you run into them again, you don't really have any countermeasures against them. Fortunately, Torin has devised a means of protecting yourselves. A single ship, all on its own, is no match for Watchtower, and his solution to this is more ships.
In a nutshell, here's my strategy. You don't fly alone anymore. Instead, you get some buddies. You get more ships. You get a fleet.
In order to start building a fleet, though, you'll need some Watchtower tech. And you might be thinking at this point, why can't I just tell my ships to follow me without any fancy tech? And they do give you a bit of an in-universe explanation for why that's the case.
It's one thing to have other ships just follow you around, but we need more than that. We need coordination. If Watchtower disables your ship, the fleet needs to notice this and react straight away to protect you. That's the whole point of this. And tell me, have you ever actually tried to coordinate multiple vessels in the middle of battle all at the same time? It's not easy, trust me. That's why we need this control node. Otherwise, none of this is gonna work.
Torin already knows where to find the control node needed for your fleet, and he gives you another piece of gear in order to make this assault possible. This is where the creation introduces you to skydrops, better known as orbital strikes. For this, Torin hands you a flare, which you'll need in order to break into the Watchtower facility. Equipping the flare will bring up a menu in which you specify what kind of drop you want. In this case, the only option you have is a surface missile, which will help you in breaking into their base. If you're like me and suck with grenades in Starfield, you might want to save before throwing it, just to be safe. Breaking into the facility is not without consequence, as this will put you up against a massive AI-powered mech, which becomes a recurring enemy type and something of a mini-boss throughout the creation. This one in particular is going to be too strong for you to deal with, especially since you only have the one surface missile. However, Torin has his own way of dealing with it. From here, you'll make your way through the base, fighting a lot of turrets and robots that have been left behind. You will want to loot not only them, but the various crates and boxes that you'll see, as you'll start to find a new crafting material called Watchtower components. After fighting your way through the facility, you'll reach the hangar and retrieve the control node, only to have another, bigger mech wake up. Lucky for you, Torin didn't kill himself in his little crash, and with your help, he uses the Synapse Disruptor on the mech to destroy it, which in turn knocks you out again. The two of you will return to Stardock, where you'll meet two of its other residents. Harper, a former Neon Street kid, who found the station and wants to make it a safe haven, and Gren, a former Watchtower ship engineer who left the group and is now aiding you instead. With the control node, Gren will allow you to start building your fleet. At this point, you'll only be able to add one ship to it, but that's something you'll be able to change over time. From his nearby terminal, you'll choose which ship you want, picking from your list of owned ships. You can set the crew, the pilot, the follow range, and so on. With a fledgling fleet of your own, and with Torin's ship being out of commission, Gren will also help you in installing your own skydrops, noting that you want them installed on the ships in your fleet, as they wouldn't be any good on your ship since it'll be on the surface with you. To begin, you'll only have access to the surface missile skydrop, but any and all skydrops that you unlock can be found under equipment in the ship builder. You can place them either on top of or below your ship, with the ability to have a closed variant as well, just in case you're worried about space or even how it looks. It's around this point that the creation focuses a bit more on what it calls its main gameplay loop, improving your fleet, your skydrops, and in turn, improving Stardock as well. All of this is achieved through some new materials that are added by the creation, namely Watchtower components, Watchtower intel, and computer cores. Components are used for restocking your skydrop inventory, as well as crafting skydrop flares. These can be found by looting containers, Watchtower troops, ships, and so on. Intel is used for locating Watchtower bases, including smaller planet-side facilities, as well as arrays, which serve as orbital satellites. And finally, computer cores are used for various upgrades, including new types of skydrops, adding more ships to your fleet, and even creating new neuroamps. Between Gren, Harper, and Torin, they'll explain all of this to you. You'll give Harper intel to find more arrays, you'll speak to Gren about upgrading your fleet, and so on. Finding listening posts and arrays will give you more intel, cores, and components. It really becomes up to you on just how much you want to engage with that loop, but I spent quite a few hours going through it myself. One thing that I like was, even if you're out of intel, you can still get some new array locations from Harper by paying her in credits instead. She'll even let you choose the level of difficulty for the array that she gives you, which is great for those of you who are looking for some harder battles. The recurring mission that you'll have from here on out is dealing with Watchtower array hubs, central satellites that are connected to a bunch of smaller arrays. These hub quests will list a series of systems where the smaller arrays can be found, or you can head straight for the listening post that will reveal the array hub itself. The idea behind this is that for each of the smaller arrays that you take out, the less Watchtower reinforcements will show up to defend the hub. But if you just head for the hub directly, you'll be dealing with a much larger fleet. I'm someone that really wanted some more challenging content in Starfield. I'm playing on a character that's over level 70, with a pretty decent ship and a lot of really strong weapons courtesy of the Shattered Space expansion. Fighting Watchtower on the ground, between their mechs, robots, turrets, and soldiers, feels really good. Mechs are strong, but not invincible, And this was really the first time that I felt the need to use heavy weapons in the game. It's funny because early on, I thought to myself that skydrop missiles weren't all that great, only to realize that it's meant to be a starting drop. They do a good amount of damage if you hit a mech dead on, but they don't necessarily have a wide area of effect, so they really need to be accurate in order to get the most out of them. But later on, I was able to spend more computer cores on better skydrops, with one of my favorites being the Orbital Bombardment, which essentially just means a whole missile barrage across a wider area. The vanilla game really only has a couple big space battles. And I would imagine that one of the reasons for that is since you're usually just on your own. Having your own fleet means that you can now engage in larger battles, something that Watchtower provides. I intentionally went to some of the array hubs without dealing with the minor arrays first, just so I could see how much of a challenge it was. And I was actually dying quite a few times, which in turn forced me to upgrade my fleet, which really made for a significant difference. It was nice to test out because it proved to me that the fleet wasn't just there for show. As you continue to play, you'll see some changes to Stardock. The station will slowly attract visitors, including new crew members for hire. A new clinic will open up, which is where you can unlock the new neuroamps. The Trade Authority will set up shop, with the ability to sell smuggled goods to its vendor. And there's a lot of illegal items in Watchtower, most notably from the AI-powered mechs. You'll be able to sell all these illicit goods to the Trade Authority, or you can even store them in the conveniently located secure contraband storage, found both in the clinic and in Gren's workshop. Later on, I saw mission boards for the Trackers Alliance and Freestar Collective, and checking back in with the Gren will unlock new features as you progress, including the ability to mark captured ships for salvage, with Gren splitting the profits with you after he scraps them. Later on, he'll even give you the ability to pilot Watchtower ships, meaning that you can take them on for yourself or have them scrapped. He'll even have the ability to duplicate the ship habs of any scrapped ship, which in turn does give you access to the Watchtower variants of the various ship habs. Early on, you'll only have the ability to manage your fleet from Gren's workshop, but after a while, he'll give you the ability to make your own fleet management terminals, either to be placed on your own ship or in your own outpost. Each ship in your active fleet will need at least one crew member to serve as a pilot, but you can also assign additional members up to the ship's limit, which is also shown in the menu. These NPCs will even appear at Stardock's bar, and you can see the ships docked at Stardock too. The creation makes use of their vanilla lines when deploying skydrops, which for me means that I get to hear the adoring fan be really excited about missile strikes and carpet bombing runs.
Just a reminder, we have a skydrop unit ready for installation.
I do recommend stocking up on computer cores, not just for upgrading your fleet, but also for the later skydrops. Unlocking a new ship for your fleet will always cost one computer core, but the better skydrops will cost more. The earliest skydrops will cost just one core, including the original missile strike, a smoke bomb, and a ballistic turret. A little later on, you can use 2 cores to unlock toxic gas bombs and laser turrets. With 3 cores, you can get a medic, supply drops, or one of my personal favorites, the Surface EMP Blast. The EMP will knock out smaller robots and turrets, and while it doesn't always full-on destroy mechs, it does a lot to soften them up if nothing else. At 5 cores, you get the very best skydrops, including the missile barrage that I talked about earlier. Each skydrop type has its own quantity of drops per install. For instance, the basic surface missile comes with 6 missiles per install, but putting 2 of these on one ship will give you 12 missiles at your disposal. And this can be stacked with any of the skydrops. And I found it really useful with the missile barrage, since you only get 1 use per installation. And it's another reason why you want to get more ships in your fleet. More ships equals more places to install skydrops. Depending on where you are in Starfield's main story, you might reach a point where it feels like the array loop is the only thing left. But once you've completed most of the vanilla game's main questline, you'll see Watchtower's story pick up again. I was playing on a save game where all I had left was to go through the Unity, and I was able to trigger the rest of Watchtower's story pretty quickly, after dealing with just a couple of the major array hubs. Torin will speak to you about wanting to take the fight to Watchtower, with one of the reasons being that they're building a powerful new weapon. As you prepare for this adventure, Torin makes it very clear that you're reaching a point of no return, and you'll be given several opportunities to pause, reminding you that you really want to have more skydrops, a proper fleet, and so on. In order to locate Watchtower's main base, named Heimdall Station, Gren will need 6 computer cores. If you don't have that many cores, which I didn't because I kept spending them, you'll be able to do the regular array hunts. Alternatively, Gren will give you the location of an abandoned Watchtower facility. The catch being that it's infested with terramorphs, but it'll have all the cores that you need. After this, we launch into the final mission, which is meant to make use of every system that we've learned so far. You're gonna want plenty of skydrops as you deal with the ground forces, protecting the station's shield generator. You want a larger fleet to take on the heavy defenses around Heimdall Station, and once you board the station itself, you'll want to make sure you have good gear in order to stand up to the turrets, the robots, and the numerous soldiers being thrown at you. But even then, as much as they stress that they want you to prepare for this, they do give you some extra help. Gren will join in with his own ship, giving you what's essentially infinite skydrop missiles, just in case you didn't come with enough of your own. It's a really epic battle across its multiple stages. I'm intentionally avoiding a lot of details on this mission itself, just because of spoilers. There are a couple different endings though, and I got what Kinggath confirmed to be the best ending, and it's pretty easy to achieve. I feel like as long as you're paying enough attention and looking through dialogue options during the final mission, you can easily get it. From start to finish, that final mission took me just over an hour and a half. And when all was said and done, you still have the ability to continue the array missions, and you'll get a whole new set of skydrops that are unlocked. And Harper notes that your battle against Watchtower hasn't gone unnoticed, and other factions might start to show up when you're going after Watchtower's arrays. There are a finite number of array hubs though, so you might want to make sure that you go through some of the smaller arrays too, in order to maximize the number of cores that you get. I wound up finishing the hubs after completing Watchtower's main quest, which wound up really transforming Stardock into a fully populated hub. It was really neat getting to see just how much it transformed over the course of a full playthrough. I think this creation is unique in that it's not just a story-based add-on, nor is it just a mechanics-focused add-on. It tries to blend the two together and find a balance in between. The story moves you through the mechanics and the different unlocks, so it's not like you get the very best skydrops from the very beginning. But at the same time, in trying to be the best of both worlds, you're not getting 10 hours of just story content from this creation either. Just something to keep in mind in case you're looking for a longer story in particular. That being said, I think Watchtower easily justifies its price point, given all of the content that it adds. The story that we do get is really fun. The new mechanics feel really well integrated. Stardock works as a good player hub, and there's the smaller quality of life add-ons too, being able to salvage ships and so on. Getting to dock with your ships and see the assigned crew members aboard, having your fleet continue the space battles while you're boarding an enemy ship, and even being able to look out and see it happen in real time. Torin made for a really fun companion, and any moment in which he couldn't travel with me made me look forward to when he'd be in my party again. I think it was a really smart decision, having a companion that felt more central to the story, and in that sense, it reminds me of something like Skyrim's Dawnguard DLC. Watchtower is Torin's story just as much as it is yours. And I really like how they had Watchtower's story tie into Starfield's main questline. It felt like a really good companion story that complemented it well. Voice acting throughout the creation was fantastic, and in my opinion, it seamlessly matches the vanilla game's quality.
So I think it's time for you to turn around and leave.
Balancing wise, I think they found a pretty good middle ground. They throw more enemies and ships at you than the vanilla game does. But they're also giving you so many ways to deal with them through those new mechanics. I always found that leveling slowed down significantly in Starfield, but Watchtower gives you quite a few higher level enemies, which means you'll actually level at a decent rate while playing this. One thing to note though is that you might be a bit overpowered for some vanilla content because of all of these additions. Having a kitted out fleet of 5 is gonna mean that you don't have to do anything in most space battles. If that proves to be a problem for you, you can always reduce your fleet size or change their combat status via the fleet management terminals. There are a couple critiques that I have, but overall, this was a stellar experience for me. I personally would've maybe liked one more story mission along the way, as there's quite a few major plot twists towards the end of the story. Having another mission somewhere in the middle might help to build up to these a bit more. And there's a pretty lengthy exposition dump in the final mission, in which you ask the station's mainframe everything that you can about Watchtower. That's another instance where it might have been good to space things out a bit more, either with an additional quest, or even if we learn some of this through a Watchtower soldier or officer, rather than just all at once through the mainframe. But with all that said, Watchtower has some changes that you'll see in New Game Plus. On a technical level, I had a pretty smooth experience. I've had Watchtower for a couple weeks now, and I've gone through various builds as the team prepped for its release. In the entire time playing, the game only crashed once, and most of the bugs that I ran into were vanilla bugs that just kinda rolled over into the creation. Stuff like weird hab layouts when boarding enemy ships, Tauren appearing in the floor when piloting a ship, little things like that. I did find the layout of the array hub missions to be a bit clunky, since it gives you a dozen or more systems in the quest log. Granted, I'm not sure what the best way to display this might be, but it did look a little cluttered. I did run into some performance hitches towards the very end of the final mission, which didn't entirely surprise me since there was a lot going on, but things did stabilize pretty quickly. I do feel like some of these bigger battles are pushing the game to its limit, and because of that, I'm really curious to see how performance feels on something like the Series S. To me, Watchtower reinforces something that I've long believed. Starfield has good gameplay. That's never been the issue. But I've wanted some more mechanics, some bigger battles, and some more unique missions. And Watchtower gives me all of that. In many ways, it feels like it could be an official DLC, with the only thing that makes it stand out from the vanilla lore being how widespread Watchtower is as an organization. They're easily more powerful than any and all of the vanilla factions. And it really hammers home that the vanilla factions needed to be a bit stronger. Watchtower reminds me a lot of the Enclave from Fallout, even in their armor designs, and I think they work really well as a more unique adversary in the game. And frankly, Watchtower gave me much more enjoyment than the Shattered Space expansion did. Watchtower is a third of the cost, and while it doesn't have as much story content, it kept me much more engaged and invested than the actual expansion did. But that's gonna be all for today. As always, thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the Patreon or the YouTube memberships, both of which get access to the official Discord server. And make sure to stop by the streams at twitch.tv/0periodproductions. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.